how would you describe how the feds took into account your feedback? Was it a matter of they chipped away at the edges of what you were talking about and didn't touch any of the substantive stuff? Or happy to hear your thoughts.
Well, they don't respect the Constitution. Section 92 of the Constitution not only enumerates our exclusive jurisdiction, that's the word in the Constitution, exclusive jurisdiction over resource development and the development of electricity. And there's a reason for that. It's because every province has different endowments and different abilities to generate electricity. That is why it has been assigned to the provinces to make these decisions. I wonder how Mark Carney would feel if I started regulating in an area of federal jurisdiction and you asked him, oh, well, as long as it's, modifying around the edges, are you okay with them developing their own currency or developing their own approach to weights and measures or establishing military installations? The answer would be no, it's not my jurisdiction. And that is foundationally the problem. This is not their jurisdiction. So it doesn't matter what kind of modifications they're going to say, it violates the Constitution. And we're going to argue that vigorously in court.
Thanks, Jamie. We have time for a couple more questions. We're going to take one more from the phones, and then I know, James, do you still have your hand up back there? Perfect. Yeah, go ahead, operator. Could you put through our next caller?
Rick Bell, Post Media.
Good morning, Premier. Riddle me this one. How confident are you that the new Prime Minister will listen to you, given the following facts? One, he is still in favor of the emissions cap. Two, he said he's not going to repeal Bill C-69. Three, when he was asked in Calgary by yours truly to make a commitment that his energy corridor would include pipelines, oil and gas pipelines, and LNG, and he would not commit. At that same news conference, he dismissed your 9 demands in a single sentence, saying he had his own plans, and he still has many of the Trudeau team people who have, let's just say, disappointed Alberta in the past with their views, including your close and personal friend, Stephen Guilbeault. So how confident are you, given all of those facts that we know so far?
It depends very much on whether we have pragmatic Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney as our Prime Minister, or whether we have environmental extremist, keep it in the ground, phase out fossil fuels, author of the book Values, Mark Carney as Prime Minister. And I don't know the answer to that yet. I don't think Canadians know the answer to that yet, because as I continue to point out, he said different things to different people in different parts of the province or country in different languages. So we won't really know until we see the decisions he's making for cabinet. We won't really know until I've had an opportunity to speak with him, which I will be this week. And so we'll do a readout of that conversation, and I'll be able to tell you then.
And the supplementary question, I kind of find it funny that a few weeks ago, everybody thought even the possibility of somebody getting enough signatures for a referendum on Alberta independence was just the work of a few yahoos, and now obviously people are very serious about it now. That being said, since the election, and you saw the returns as much as I did, and the overwhelming Conservative vote, what have you heard, and what have your MLAs heard about the mood out there in Alberta with regards to the election of the Carney Liberal government? What are they hearing? What feedback are you hearing? What feedback are they hearing from people, especially on this Alberta file?
I think it's split. There's lots of people sending me texts and emails saying, give it a chance, do what you can, put forward your policies, see if the different leadership makes a difference, see if we can mend the country together, see if we can find a way to have them change course on some of the bad policies of his predecessor, and let's try to make it work. Let's try to make Canada aspirationally what people wanted. People during this election wanted a Team Canada and a Canada First approach that supported every region, supported every province in its aspirations. So give that a chance. That's one side. And the other side is we're fed up that we have been targeted for the last 10 years with aggressive policy to keep our energy resources, our substantial energy resources in the ground. The reason we send so much of our product to the United States is that it's easier to build pipelines going south than it is east, west, and north. And it shouldn't be that way. And we're fed up. So I'm hearing both camps. And so we'll be having a caucus meeting tomorrow where I'm going to be able to hear directly from each of my MLAs to see if they're hearing the same things I am. But I think my job is to try to do what I can. I put on the table the 9 issues that I think will reset the relationship with Alberta. I will be talking with the Prime Minister and making our case very, very clearly about what it is that we think we need to do to reset and be that energy powerhouse. And I'll gauge the result based on his actions. And we'll know pretty quickly whether or not he's going to make some movement on those things.
Thank you. And we'll go to James now in the back.
Thanks. Premier, I'm just wondering do you have a breaking point where you would then consider independence?
I would always allow for citizens to put forward their own ideas about what they think our path forward should be. I've put forward my ideas of what I think the path forward should be. It's the Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act. It's affirming our Constitution. It is doing the kind of advocacy that we have, doing the legal challenges that we have, and engaging in diplomacy and trying to figure out if we can find a pathway. I did that in my very first conversation with Mark Carney's predecessor, and I will do the same thing with him. That's my job to do. And I'll over the summer, I'll be intending to, I mentioned this as well, that I'll be intending to do a what's next conversation and panel, travel the province, hear from people, see if there's other things that I'm not thinking of that they'd like us to do. But at the moment, I'm focused on those 9 issues that I raised and seeing if we can get some kind of repeal or accommodation to make sure that we really can start attracting investment to our province again.
Yeah, follow-up.
Premier, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of coal-fired power stations being built around the world right now. Given that, why is Ottawa so fixated on making Canadians pay, particularly for items like carbon capture and storage, which have almost no effect at all on global emissions?
You son of a bitch.
Well, I think there's been a movement in the last year, maybe longer, probably longer, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the instability in natural gas prices. There's been also a court decision out of The Hague with involving Shell, where they determined that if Shell was not producing natural gas, it would just mean that more coal was being produced, which would mean that it would increase emissions. And so it was pretty clear that the recognition that natural gas is a way to reduce global emissions. We've already shown leadership on that. We face, albeit probably too early and at too great an expense, phased out coal in Alberta in favor of natural gas, which resulted in a 53% reduction in emissions. So we've seen that. We've made major progress with our Environment Minister as well on reducing methane emissions by 45%. And there's more work to do there, and I think we can. The rest of the world, and I think there's an opportunity at G7 taking place in Kananaskis in June, and I would hope the world leaders adopt a resolution that nuclear and natural gas are both clean energy options, because the alternatives are just so much more damaging. So that's one part of it, and that's what I've been advocating for. And I think that there are other world leaders who are looking at doing the same. I can tell you, Japan and Korea are very, very keen to get more natural gas liquids, as well as more liquefied natural gas from us, so that they can continue to reduce their emissions profile, so that they don't have to look at coal as an option. And I think all the Asian countries are in a similar boat. So I think we have a bit of a change of heart coming, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go back to doing coal-fired electricity. Although I note with interest that my neighbour in Saskatchewan has decided to do exactly that, because they hadn't phased out their coal plants themselves. But the other part I think we cannot underestimate is why China is bringing on coal-fired electricity. They're building coal plants on spec in anticipation they will need that power to fuel the AI data race. And I think we have to be very clear about what happens if China wins the race to manufacture intelligence. That is what AI is. We cannot allow China to win that race. That has to be a race that we win in the free countries of the world, in North America in particular. And we have the ability to do that, along with our friends in Quebec, who have been at the absolute lead in developing data centers, and many of their companies are looking at investing here. And part of the reason they're looking at investing here is because of our value proposition to have the ability to produce natural gas-fired electricity with low emissions. And that is exactly why we need to have the freedom, as we are going to argue in the court, to be able to have control over our natural gas, have control over our electricity grid, and be able to work with those nations who want to invest in this AI data race to be able to make sure that we win that race.
And that's all the time we have for questions today.